We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at scentsbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Y'all already know I always have special guests, and today this one's really special because she's a childhood friend, but it has been so long since we've seen each other in person or even really communicated, just maybe here or there over the last, we graduated a long time ago. So over the last 30 years or so, but I have watched her from afar and I've been so very proud of her and um, in admiration, just celebrating from a distance. And today we get to talk personally, and I get to find out her journey. It's amazing how, well, let me tell you who we're going to talk to, and then I'll continue. So today our guest is Jackie Cummings Koski, and I'm so glad to have you, Jackie. So glad to have you.
Yeah, Marcy Bush, it's been a long time. I am
Hey,
so glad to see you and what you're doing. And it's an honor to be on the show around the holidays. Happy holidays. And
hey,
I'm just looking forward to this conversation, with a hometown person that's always close to my heart. So I'm actually visiting in South Carolina in Hilton Head. And
ready.
I'm just happy to be in the warm weather because I live up in Ohio now.
Okay, okay. And so, see, we grew up 5 or 6 minutes apart, actually. Um, I know you, of course, through Zion Fair Missionary Baptist Church, where
Yeah.
we both attended. We were on the Little Builders Choir,
Yeah.
and that was the most of our exchange or interaction at that time was at church. But then as we got older, we ended up at the same high school. And so that's where we kind of further advanced. But and then once we leave high school, uh, it's like so many people I know I've lost contact with so many people, but like I said, I'm just glad that I was able to um, see some of the things that you've done. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted you here with us. Your name came up in my spirit, and I always wondered about your journey and how it led you to where you are. And so right now, I'm just glad to be able to talk. So, as we begin, tell us about little Jackie. What was your life like as a little kid? Some of your early memories, the fond ones, the alarming ones, just how was it?
Yeah, 30 years just like that, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I lived in Petticoat Junction. I know probably everyone watching that lives in South Carolina knows
Mhm.
where that is, but no one else in the world probably has ever
Right.
heard of it, or they think about that television show. But
Uh-huh.
Petticoat Junction, and we lived down this dirt road. Like that's one of my main memories because in order for us to catch the bus to go to school, we had to
Mhm.
go up the dirt road, and I
Okay.
hated that. And I'm like, I never want to live in the country again.
Gotcha.
But yeah, really, really young. The main thing I remember was my dad raising us. He was a single dad raising 6 kids.
Wow.
And that's the thing that was really the theme throughout my whole childhood, primarily. And so he made sure, we went to school, we had food on the table. We did go to church. I think it was every first and third Sunday. Was
That's
on
it. Yep.
the choir, like you were. And my aunt Edith, she was head of the choir, so she helped out. That was my dad's brother. But I also remember, we grew up in poverty. It was really tough, you know. And now that I'm adult, my lens is a little bit different because I'm thinking, wow, how on earth did he do it? Single
Wow.
dad with 6 kids. Most
Right.
people cannot even imagine that
Mm-mm.
today.
Mm.
So now I just appreciate all his, dedication and commitment and just his resiliency in being able to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, so that was probably my earliest thing. He
But let
believed
me ask you
in
this. Hang on.
uh
So, because like I don't even think I knew that. Um, so if you're comfortable sharing, how did it come about that it was 6 of y'all and your dad? Where was
yeah,
mom?
well, I was so young, me and my younger sister Gwen. So it was 6 of us, and me and my sister. I had one younger sister, and that was Gwen. Everybody else was a little bit older. So my parents were divorced,
Okay.
and I was maybe 6, 7, maybe 8 years old. So that's all I really remember. And my dad ended up with all of us, and that
Okay.
was just my norm. Like you don't
Gotcha.
really question it when you're that young. Families
Mhm.
really don't talk about a whole lot, but he just sucked it up and he did what he needed to do.
Wow.
And so that was my norm. That was all I knew
Mhm.
growing up. And so as time went on as a kid, you realize, everyone else has mom and dad and you just have your dad or whatever. So it
Mhm.
was a little different.
Mhm.
But again, that was just our norm growing up. Maybe the older kids kind of, knew a little bit more or whatever, but we were young and that was just life.
So what were the other siblings older than you? Was it boys and girls or
Y-
how?
Yeah, it was 2 boys and 4 girls. So the girls was me and my sister Gwen. We were the younger ones, and then my sister Eleanor.
Mhm.
And everyone still lives in the area except my sister Gwen. She lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
So and then it was the oldest was my sister Marilyn. So they went to like this is way before Civil Bluff was even built. So they
Okay.
graduated from Aiken High.
Gotcha.
And then my brother James, he graduated from Aiken High. This was again way before Civil Bluff. And then of course my brother Charles, which most people knows, he had his own sports store. He's a sports fanatic. It was his dream to just watch sports all day, talk about sports all day. And
Mhm.
his store, Triple C Sports, that's what it did. He's now kind of moving that online, but
Okay.
most people know him. So he was the first out of the siblings to go to Civil Bluff and to graduate from Civil Bluff High School. And then
Okay.
it was my sister Eleanor, then it was me, and then it was Gwen. So it was 4 girls and 2 boys.
Okay. Okay. And so early on, what are some of those memory? I always feel like if we remember something, especially with everything that goes on in the course of a day, a week, a year, if there's some memories embedded in us, I always feel like they tell us something about ourselves or our environment or God or people. It just communicates something to you. So, what are some of your early memories?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how you just have these flashes of memory. It's kind of hard to piece everything together, but you're right. The things that you remember for some reason that had a profound impact on you, and it's sort of woven throughout your life.
Yes.
So as far as when I was really little, I don't remember a ton from then. The main thing I remember is living down the dirt road. It was, seven of us in one house. It was like a two-bedroom ranch home. And these days we have these big four-bedroom homes for two people.
Right.
So but we made it work. And I think about it, I'm like, I remember one of the bedrooms was four girls. It was two twin beds, two girls in one bed, two girls in the other bed.
Okay.
So it was always very crowded. It was never, we were never ever alone. Like it was always a house full of kids. It was always where something was going on and things like that. I remember my dad specifically just working all the time. And of course, he had to if he wanted to make ends meet. So he had to work a regular full time job, a part time job, and he was just always, always doing something. Of course, through the lens of a child, you don't really understand that you have to work to make money. And so, but that was his focus as being, the man of the house, trying to provide for his kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that stuck with every single one of his kids, to always work hard. You got to work for what you have. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am happy that his work ethic stuck with me, his dedication to knowing that nothing is given to you. You have to earn it yourself, and don't expect anyone else to help you out. Superman is not coming. You're Superman. You got to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was something that I know kind of was, because even though growing up, I would think that, yeah, my dad didn't sit us down and teach us this or teach us that. He actually did from his actions.
Yes.
And so you can spend all the time in the world telling your kids what to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what sticks more is watching what you do. And so I remember a lot of the things, him going to work. I remember he never took a sick day off. I don't even remember him taking a vacation day. I never even knew what a sick day was until I was like in my 30s. And one of my coworkers was talking about, and I would see it on my paycheck that I'm accumulating all these sick times, but I never took a sick day for the long until I had my daughter and she was sick and I stayed home with her one day, but he never took a sick day. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Mm.
So just little things like that makes
Yes.
a difference. It makes an impression even from a very, very young age. And sometimes you don't even realize that this is what stuck. And this is
Mm-hmm.
why that's why I feel like it's really important to kind of go back and revisit your past,
It
whether it
is.
was trauma, whether it was good times, whether it was just, coming up or realizing certain reasons why you are how you are or you do what you do. It's really, it's been valuable to me to sort of revisit that and kind
Yeah.
of get some clarity around certain things that I do or certain ways that I think,
Mm.
even from the impressions that I had as a really young person.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I think that is very important. I see a lot of, I think a lot of times we, like you said, we do not realize what has impacted us, what has influenced us to make the choices that we make. We don't, because we're so busy moving forward that we don't sometimes understand the importance of our past and how it has truly shaped us. And I think when we do slow down and look back um, for information regarding our own lives, then we even move forward with more appreciation, maybe with more fervor, just because now we see, oh, yeah, so that's the thing that's been fueling me, you know.
right, right.
And we see that it's obviously, as we'll continue to talk, it's led you down some great paths. I know we all have valleys and hills, every life is filled with those. So even thinking back to your elementary school days, thinking about you told us a little bit about at home. What was it like at school? Are there any things that stand out in your mind, be it good or bad, from elementary school days?
Yeah, so it's so funny, like these little snippets of things that you remember. My first grade teacher was Miss Warner. I don't know how I remember her name, but I do. It was
Okay.
Miss Warner. It was at Millbrook. And I remember some of the classes that I loved. I loved to write. I loved English. I didn't like math. I was back in the day, we had handwriting. And
Mm-hmm.
I did so good with handwriting to where I was exempt because I had really good handwriting. So I
Okay.
appreciate that. And then another funny little thing, is so crazy. I remember because I had good handwriting, I was pretty proud of that, right? Because that was the thing that I did really well. And I remember this was one girl, she was always a step ahead of me. And I remember her name was the Poly Contractor. I don't know where the Poly Contractor is now, but
Okay.
she
Wow.
she was so smart and
Uh-huh.
did everything so perfect, a little bit ahead of me. And I
Mhm.
remember like, dang, how could she always do everything better than me? But it was just kind of funny, the things that are important to you when you're that young. I was just proud of having good handwriting. Now nobody writes in cursive, it doesn't even matter.
No, right. Nobody. They don't even teach it unless they just started again. They don't even teach it anymore.
Right,
Um,
exactly,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did love writing, and by the time I got to middle school and high school, you had your English literature classes and you had your writing classes and things like that. So that's when I started realizing that, hey, I enjoy writing, I enjoy storytelling and coming out with creative writing and papers and essays and stuff like that. So
Mm,
by that time, you do start to figure out, oh, okay, this is something I enjoy doing. These are the subjects
yeah,
I like going to. These are the advanced classes I'm in. Why? Because I'm good at them. So,
yeah,
and we all have those things that we're good at that
yeah.
we end up excelling because it's something we actually like.
Right. Tell me about your middle school years. I know middle school is treacherous for a lot of people. It was for me.
Yeah,
Honey, I survived. Like
right,
seriously, it was like the beginning of when I look back, I'm like, oh, thank God I made it because it wasn't looking too cute. But
right.
what was your middle school timeline?
Yeah, so middle school went to Jackson, and that was where there was, I think, some people from New Ellerton, some people from some of the surrounding areas that didn't go to the elementary school that I went to. We all ended up at Jackson, middle school. So
Mhm.
there, I remember teacher Miss Garrett. I don't know if you had Miss Garrett, but she was my the literature teacher. She taught English lit. So I remember that, and like I said, I continued to excel at writing and essays, and that's what I enjoyed. And
Mhm.
it seemed like it went by, now that I look back, it seems like it went by pretty quick, but probably not. But in the middle school years, you start to think about how you dress, and are you the cool person in the cool crowd. Those are some really formative years where you are hitting those teenage years. And, I have a teenage daughter, and, I feel like the middle school years, there was quite a growth spurt and she was starting to change a lot. And thinking back, so was I. So
Mm.
I think it was two or three, was it fifth, sixth, and seventh grade, maybe?
6, 7,
Yeah,
8.
fifth. Yeah, okay. So sixth, seventh, eighth grade was middle school. And yeah, just kind of getting started. I remember that, last year there, you're getting ready for high school. That was a big deal. You're getting excited about that. And you're
Mhm.
almost kind of afraid of it because, it's like, now I'm going to be around all these other new people and stuff. So, I felt like I was just gearing up to, hit, Silver Bluff High School. That was the big deal. And, it was kind of like go time.
Yes. Were you focused on academics or did you do extracurricular activities or community things as well?
Well, so here was the thing, and it's a little bit embarrassing at the time as a kid, but I really didn't participate in a lot of extracurricular activities when I was really young because my dad had six kids and he worked all the time. So he didn't have the ability to be dropping us off, picking us up, and things like that. Now, by the time you hit high school, you start to make friends, you start to drive, and you can make it work. Because I remember my brother Charles, he played football. So he
Right.
had friends, I guess, in high school that it was always where somebody had to pick him up, or maybe he finally got his own car or something like that. So that was finally a little bit of freedom we got when we were able to make other arrangements to be able to participate.
Okay.
So yeah, so I I think maybe one year I tried to play basketball or whatever, but it was always an issue because, like I said, we lived down this dirt road. We lived in Petticoat Junction. It wasn't like you could walk there. So it wasn't,
Right.
when I talk to a lot of people about, kind of growing up in poverty, well, rural poverty is very different from urban poverty. If you're in
Okay.
urban poverty, there's the bus line, maybe your school is right there in your city, you can walk and stuff like that. If you're in rural poverty, you can't just walk anywhere. The library isn't just right up the street.
Right.
So we were kind of, I felt kind of stuck in that way. But when I entered high school, by the time I got my first job was at Shoney's in Aiken, South Carolina. And I was so
Okay.
bummed when I found out they closed it down.
Yeah, they
But
did.
that was my first job. So the reason why I was so excited about my first job is that I had my own money. I could
Mhm.
start saving for my first car, and I
Mhm.
would have the freedom to be able to drive myself to participate in some kind of sports or to do what I need to do, or really just to drive back and forth to work to make my own money. I was so proud that I could, earn money myself to be able to buy my own clothes. I didn't have to wear hand-me-downs, and
Mhm.
I didn't have to depend on my dad. And hopefully that lightened his load a little bit. So
Right.
high school was a big it was more transforming for me than like middle school or anything else
Mhm.
because I felt like I was not necessarily becoming an adult, but having my own freedom and a little bit of independence to, make my own money and do things that I wasn't able to do because, of course, I had only one parent to depend on to
Mhm.
do that had other six other kids to think about.
So in high
Yeah.
school, what were some of your loves? What are some of the things you loved doing in high school? I know you said you were grateful to be working.
Yeah.
Um, but what were some of the other things that played a part in your life?
Yeah, so by the time I hit high school, there were some extracurricular activities I did. I remember I was in the Future Business Leaders of America. I might have been a president at one
Oh,
time. I remember Miss Miles, she was
uh,
our teacher sponsor, and we would
okay.
do these volunteer things out in the community. I remember I was like a flag girl for a little while with the band, so I did
Mhm.
that. I remember I was in the beta club. Oh, and this was pretty fun. So I was I think it was vice president or secretary of the senior class. So I love that.
Okay.
And I got best, by the time I'm working, I'm buying my own clothes, I'm feeling really good. And I'm
Mhm.
dressing up every day. And I end up getting best dressed by the
Okay.
time I was a senior. And man, I was so
Okay.
proud of that. Because up until then, I'm wearing hand-me-downs, raggedy clothes, things that all my sisters have worn, because I'm second to the last. And
Right.
so I was pretty proud of that. I was on the yearbook staff because I love to write and I love media and communications and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Um, so those were just some of the things that I did by the time I started working, making my own money, and juggling it all.
Mhm.
So I would say by the time I was junior, senior, I was involved in a lot of stuff, not necessarily athleticism.
Mhm.
I ran by the time I got to college, I ran cross country, but I
So did
really didn't do athletics per se.
and so you didn't do athletics in high school and then you do cross country in
Yeah,
college?
I
Girl,
had a coach that had a lot of confidence in me. Yes, yes, yes. And it was I guess they needed someone on the spot, and I could run. In my mind that didn't require much talent, except we had to practice like twice a week, which I did.
but what
It was
made you
three
go out
miles.
for that? What made you go out for like
I had a coach. I one of my freshman classes in college, and I went to Augusta State. At the time, it was Augusta College. They changed it to Augusta. They've changed the name four times. But I took this archery class like when I was a freshman in college. Probably I thought it was an easy A, right? And
uh-huh.
I was just talking with my coach. He goes, "Yeah, I'm the cross country coach." And he says, "Do you run?" I'm like, "No, I don't." He says, "Oh, you can." And this is going to be so funny, but a lot of things that you could say back then, you can't say today. Okay.
Uh,
But I remember him saying, like cross he goes, and I said, "No, I said I never ran." He says, "Come on, all black people can run."
well,
I'm like, what? But back
right.
then,
I
There
know,
was no trigger. If you said that today,
girl. Look,
if I would have gone to the administrator of the college, you would not have a job today.
right, right. And
Yeah.
then I probably would have said, "Well, honey, you know I won't run nowhere." But if I were you, I probably would have said, "We sprint. We don't do cross country."
Right, right. And I didn't even know enough to say that. But here's what happened. So I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not a runner, and I'm working all the time, because I had to work my way through college. And so he was like, well, you get a scholarship. I'm like, okay, sign me up.
Okay,
So that's all he had to say. So
right.
all was forgiven. So I was able to get a little bit of a scholarship because I think he needed to fill the team, and he
Uh-huh.
was looking for on the people to run on the girls cross country team, and he had a scholarship available, so he offered it to me, and I'm like, well, sure, I'll do that. And
Mhm.
we worked it out. So I ran for 3 out of 4 years cross country, so I was in really good shape, and I got a scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Never knew it. So
Yeah.
when you entered college, what was your major? What were you planning on going into?
Yeah. So my major was communications and journalism, and that's what I started, liking a lot, and I knew that was my thing. But even before college, I guess, one of the big, I guess, milestones when I was in high school is that my dad got sick. This hardworking guy working his butt off, every day to, take care of his 6 kids. So I was a senior in high school
Mhm.
and doing good, working at Shoney's and everything. And he got sick with cancer. I think it started out with as prostate cancer, which we know is now preventable and curable. But he was one of those guys that never really went to the doctor.
Mhm.
So by the time he went and sought treatment, it had advanced and the cancer had spread to his brain. And
Mhm.
I'm in high school, so I'm really young. I'm 17, 18 years old. And it seemed like it happened pretty quick, but I had these conversations, with my brother Charles, and he's like, "No, he was sick for a long." And I guess again, being younger, you're not privy to these things. I'm sure they probably said, they're in high school, in Jackie, they're in high school, they don't really need to know all this or whatever. So it seemed to me that it happened really quick. He's like, "No, it happened for a while," and
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the ssbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving and help us spread these testimonies around the world.